The Everglades is an enormous ecosystem, and with that size comes great importance. The Everglades refills our Floridian aquifer, which provides water for over 10 million people. This landscape also provides shelter for millions of animals and thousands of varying species, making the Everglades one of the biggest biodiversity hubs in North America. This unique environment also attracts over 1 million tourists to our South Florida home every year, providing continuous economic growth with tourism. The biodiverse and beautiful Everglades is taking a turn in the wrong direction. In recent years, we have changed the natural flow of water, causing problems not only for the animals living in this ecosystem, but for our water supply as well. Historically, water would flow from Lake Kissimmee and would flow down the Kissimmee River. The Kissimmee River would then flow into Lake Okeechobee with very nutrient-rich water. Then, Lake Okeechobee would overflow its southern wall, and it would progress into the Everglades, which is really a slow-moving river. This sheet flow allowed for the nutrients in the water to be cleaned and removed through the various plant life, so when the Everglades' natural flow reached the Florida Bay, it was clean. Now, when water comes down from Lake Kissimmee to the Kissimmee River into Lake Okeechobee, the water is controlled and forced out from the man-made St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee River. These rivers flow into the Gulf of Mexico and Atlantic, very nutrient-rich and unhealthy for the ecosystems there. We should address the redirection of Okeechobee water through the St. Lucie and Caloosahatchee rivers regarding the KOE watershed. These unnatural flows are affecting 3 environments and should be handled first. The human impact of the natural flow of water has created new problems for our current environment. We have channelized or redirected many natural flowing rivers, the main one being the Kissimmee. The unnatural flow of water affects the diverse wildlife in the KOE, from the tiny invertebrates to the many wading birds. The shift in water flow also affects the Gulf and Atlantic coast ecosystems. When the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie rivers are redirected to these environments, it is nutrient-rich water that is being carried. In these rivers, there is very little plant life that cleans and takes the nutrients out of the water. So, when the rivers meet the Gulf and Atlantic coast, the polluted waters collide with clean environments and can cause algae blooms or large differences in salinity, putting many fish in shock. However, we are also constantly polluting our Everglades with excess phosphorus that creates a much bigger problem. There has always been phosphorus in water, but it becomes a problem when there is too much. The Everglades has always been a low phosphorus environment, but recently, phosphorus numbers have spiked. These large amounts of nutrients can disrupt the environment by causing algal blooms and attracting cattails, ultimately ending in eutrophication, or a lack of oxygen in the environment. This unnatural plant life is disruptive and unhealthy for environments that should have a low phosphorus count. If the phosphorus nutrient pollution issue isn't addressed, it will end in a catastrophic environmental impact on the Everglades. To solve the phosphorus pollution issue, it should be addressed both politically and socially. The government has put into action a myriad of environmental laws and continue to enforce them today. The politicians are the one with the power to create and enforce laws. However, we still need to reach the greater population. There are people who couldn't care less about the environment, and that's where we have to make a difference socially. Motions need to be placed to open people's eyes to the environmental impact that they have just as a single person. Everyone needs to do their part in taking care of the environment that we call home. The South Florida Water Management District and Environmental Protection Agency should be involved with restoring the Everglades. The main areas affected by the phosphorus pollution have been South Florida, and it is the water management who is in charge of cleaning and controlling the water we use. The phosphorus pollutants have become an unbelievable out-of-control problem. If something isn't done now, we could completely lose the Everglades to these pollutants. This is why the United States EPA can be such a tremendous help. This agency can help our environment on a federal level, not only bringing environmental and political help, but also social help with awareness. We should begin working on the restoration socially. Even though politically they have control over the laws, there are still people who break them. If we can get an idea in motion to convince or at least expose the people of Florida on how they impact the environment, I'm sure we can make a huge difference. While the cost of restoring the Everglades might be a great amount, there are so many more benefits. Water quality would improve tremendously when we cut down on pollutants and contaminants. Fish found in the environment would become more abundant, making the fishing industry boom. In 2014 alone, the fishing industry contributed to over $7.9 billion for Florida's economy. Park visitation would most likely increase as well. The Everglades is facing more problems than just pollution and water flow. We are continuing to overdevelop for real estate and a boosting population. We still maintain an unhealthy amount of urbanization in the precious ecosystem around us. There has also been an abundance of invasive species showing up in the Everglades over the past decade. The Melaleuca tree, Burmese python, and island apple snail, just to name a few. These invasive species are disrupting the natural and helpful organisms that are native to the Everglades. Along with this, climate change is also affecting the Everglades. With the increased global temperature, the sea levels are rising at an alarming rate. This brings up the problem of saltwater intrusion to our biggest source of fresh water. The H2O to Go Connections program will allow a student to learn, experience, and get exposed to so many new things. You can get familiar with the problems surrounding the KOE water system and what we are doing to reverse the damage we've done. You will be open to a completely new world of professional research and lab settings. The H2O to Go Connections program will give you so much unique information and contact to new people and possibilities.